Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Netherlands. Welcome to very hot Netherlands as well. It's, I think, pretty close to 30 degrees here this afternoon. And Norwich City have just finished their first pre-season friendly of the day. Firstly, apologies because we weren't quite there with team news today. It was a bit of a dash across from where we were, but we made it for kickoff, which is the main thing, but not by much. So we didn't have enough time to jump on here and to give you the team news. But I'm sure you all saw it in the relevant places, and that's why partly we thought we'd stop in. We've got to dash pretty quickly.
We were getting transfer lines, so that's
well, that is true, and some of which we will bring you. But hopefully you can see us and hear us well, because as is the nature of these pre-season trips, sometimes you end up in relatively obscure locations and there isn't any Wi-Fi and the signal's not the best. But we are persevering with what we've got. So if you can see us and you can hear us, we are doing well. It has finished here. Volendam 1, Norwich 1, very competitive, friendly. We saw the team really quite a mixed team in terms of those that played at Northampton last week from that first half and second half group. By the end, it was pretty much a full under 21s side. Paddy, as a test, as a game, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these pre-season games, particularly the early ones, follow this, and particularly the ones when you're out on tour, follow a similar pattern. For me, it was 60, 65 minutes competitive, minimal changes, and the ones that were made, Norwich made 3 at the break, were kept within that, so it didn't really disrupt the tempo or the structure. And I think the cue was Volendam made 8 in one hit early in the second half, and then Norwich made clumps of 3, clumps of 4. By the end, the senior, if you want to call them that, starting 11, they'd all gone by the final quarter. In their place, all the development lads who were out here. And as a result, the game sort of lost its structure, really. So from that point of view, from an exercise, what would Liam Manning learn? Probably not huge amount from the final 20, 25 minutes. Within that, of course, some of the younger players have come on and maybe caught his eye and give him some food for thought down the track. But that first hour, I thought there was some nice elements to it. Mank were forcing. We both agreed he looked quite good in that 10 role. It's interesting for me now. That's 2 games into pre-season and twice he started a Mank were forcing. So is there something we're seeing there in terms of Liam Manning's thinking for
That's 10 as well?
Exactly, for when the championship roams into view. So the Sean Seeley, that he's also had a couple of starts. I think I'm right in saying. No, actually, he came on for Jurassic, didn't he, after 20 minutes? But he's had
him though. He's big. There's a rawness there, but it's quite
and he's
a
not
nice
phased.
rawness.
He's not phased either. He's very comfortable in this company. There was one driving run. He picked the ball up, ran 25 yards, just choked his shot, but the confidence to do that. Trying to think, I mean, they were the standouts for me, really.
And also, there was some good bursts from Jurassic. I mean, it kind of drifted in and out of the game, but when he was in, it was a really nice burst of pace. But maybe, I think, again, you can kind of see where he is fitness-wise and tailed off a little bit. Brad Hill's played it right back. I thought, again, difficult start, but I thought he grew into it and was looking a lot more comfortable by the end.
Have you spoken to Brad Hills?
I have spoken to Brad Hills, yeah. So you'll be able to see that. With the way it's going to work, just to explain it to people. So we're not, as I'm sure you would agree, it probably wouldn't be the best use of Liam Manning's time to be speaking to us after every game. So the way it's going to work for this tour is they'll have 2 games. We'll hopefully speak to a player after every game, and then Liam Manning will do some media at the end of the second game. So Paddy will speak to Liam Manning after the game in Waregem later tonight. And I suspect, Paddy, you're going to have a fair bit to ask him.
Any topics in particular, Connor? Where do you want to go with that?
Well, where should we start? Jos Sergeant. I mean, there's been lots of reports about him in the last 24 hours. He was here. We saw him as we came in. He was on the halfway in conversation with Liam Manning and Kenny McLean. He watched the entirety of the game. But more interesting, it sounds like he is going to play a part tonight.
Was he actually for the entire duration?
For first half, definitely.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Only reason I say is that
he might have had to start off.
Yeah, well, I did have a chat with Neil Adams, and he more or less inferred that the ones who were playing tonight, which, as we sit here at whatever time it is with the time difference, but early afternoon on Saturday, Jos Sergeant is scheduled to start that game in Waregem tonight. So, I mean, Neil was suggesting that group would be back at base, so maybe they did come, because I think they're only literally a couple of kilometres away, and Neil also said that where the game was today is where they've been training in the first 3 or 4 days, and they've been commuting on those bikes that I'm sure we've seen by now on the club's output. And if you look to your left, Connor, I think is that Ken Abbo departing on
the bike. Yeah.
Who's there? You go. So there's no plush coach for these boys. But so that was, according to Neil, what the plan was, that Sergeant and those ones who were featuring tonight will be travelling separately now to Voragum. These guys who are in duty here today, they will go back to the team hotel. They won't be involved tonight. And obviously Liam Manning and all the backroom's technical staff, they'll be now heading an hour or so down the road, hour and a half down to the Belgian border. So yeah, so as it stands, yes, there's been lots of reports, some what I would class as reputable sources as well overnight coming out of Germany, that there may be the beginnings of a verbal agreement, but there clearly isn't an agreement in place, because if there was, do you think Jos Sergeant A would still be here, B would be playing tonight, which as it stands is the case, is the plan. So not quite there yet, but it feels like there is a movement. We're led to believe that Wolfsburg have come in again in recent days and considerably upped their offer from where it was originally early in the summer, when I think they were politely told to go away and have a think about it. Yeah, I mean, figures will get bandied about and you can slice them any which way in terms of total packages, in terms of upfront with potential add-ons, but I think there's an expectation that Norwich can probably nudge this above 20 million, which, you know, given pre-Wolfsburg coming back in, I think there was a fear maybe internally they might have to lower their sights a little bit and entertain at least conversations around the 16 plus million mark. If they can get it to 20 million, the player and his camp, they're obviously the major factor in this. I think they would welcome an opportunity to go back to Germany for Sergeant and go and play for Wolfsburg. So the planets are starting to align, but they're not quite there yet. And as we say, we'll stress we're 5 hours away from kickoff, and things could change. Of course they can. But as it stands, Jos Sergeant will be leading the line for Norwich tonight. So nothing imminent, but those reports are, we believe, accurate coming out of Germany in the last 24 hours. That it feels like Wolfsburg are now within touching distance of a deal that will make sense for Norwich and will make sense for Jos Sergeant. And then he will, it feels like he will depart, and then the intrigue begins of how did Norwich replace, what did we tally up him and Sainz? We're about 32, 33 goals.
Yeah.
That's your challenge now. You're going to be without potentially 30 plus championship goals from last season, massive hole to fill. Are the players already in the building? Some of them are, some others will have to be sourced, and we'll probably get into that as well on this one. But that's the big question now as we move into the start of the season, is if you lose Sainz, you've already lost him. If you lose Sergeant, looks like you will do, how do you replace that guarantee of goals? So, but that's, I'm sure Liam Manning, Ben Napper, and all the people around them know that is the situation, and it would seem that they're willing to take that challenge on.
Absolutely, and one of those names that hopefully will take on that challenge is Matias Klich, who we haven't seen yet, and obviously only linked up, I think, with Norwich on Tuesday. Not here for this first game, Paddy. Would you expect him to be involved in the second game?
No, I don't think so. I think we've more or less had the team inferred to us that's going to start, and he's not one of those names. So, do you bring him all the way down there just to give him a few minutes off the bench? You have to remember, he only actually came back into camp. He had an extended summer break, interrupted by completing the move, but he was away with Denmark in the 21s Euros. So he's only actually started his training pre-season Tuesday gone. And obviously, most of these players at Norwich have been 2 to 3 weeks into their pre-season. So it tells me that he's got to get his base fitness levels up. So I think it's probably more reasonable, famous last words, but it's more reasonable to expect maybe we'll see him in one of the 2 games in a week's time when he'll have had 10 days plus to do that block of fitness work. I think that's probably where he's at the moment. What's to be gained by, a guy who's been in training 4 or 5 days, throwing him into these type of games. So don't expect to see him tonight, but hopefully by this time next weekend, we can look forward to, well, the games on Friday, aren't they? So hopefully by this time next week, Matias Klich will have had his first outing in green and yellow.
Which would be good. We've had a comment, sorry, I missed the person who sent it, and I don't want to scroll it and muck up what's on my screen at the moment. But about the young players that impressed, any that really caught your eye, Paddy, today?
Well, young Tavares, we have to talk about him, but we won't overhype him. But, 15 years of age. The fact that there's a 15-year-old out here has played 21s football last season, that tells you what they think of him. Left-sided attacking player. I'm not for 1 minute talking about him in terms of the here and now, or maybe even the next season or 2 to come. But there is a name I would advise most Norwich fans to go and do a bit of research on, because he is one they really have high hopes for. And the fact that he's actually getting on and had 1 or 2 nice moments. He forced a very good save when they just went 1-0 up early in the second half. He had a shot there towards the end as well. He found himself some move, space in the box. But obviously, it's a very small sample to judge anything. But he would be the one, I think. And as we've already mentioned, LaShawn Seeley, that seems like a player who is really putting his foot down and getting himself in and around the fringes of the first team.
Yeah, well, what I would say is Vatan Ozcan as well. We've not seen here today, as in this game. I suspect we'll probably see him in the second game. It doesn't sound like he's maybe going to start that one, but certainly, let's say someone like Jose Cordoba, who again, similarly to Chris Gordon, really has just come back into the group. If he is a bit limited in terms of the minutes that he can play, you could see a world where maybe Ozcan gets maybe even 45 minutes tonight against a team in Varagem who, unlike Volendam today, Norwich are their final pre-season game before their season starts this weekend, so it's a slightly different challenge to this one today. We are going to have to get on the road shortly, so we are going to keep this a little bit short and sweet. But Paddy, of course, I know there'll be lots of comments about transfers and where we are with that. I guess the names out there at the moment: Matson, Diallo, Topic, as well. Those three specifically. Any sort of updates or news that you can provide on those three?
Not in a stand by your beds, as was the phrase I remember a former press officer used to say when it was imminent. We're definitely not in that territory. But you've named them. They are the three who, Mark, when he sat down with us in the week, said, which we knew anyway, that they're now looking at central midfielders. Those are the two. Matson remains their number one target in terms of central midfielders. Interestingly, you've shown me the quotes. The Danish league season starts tomorrow. There's suggestions that the coach needs to sit down and see if he's in the right frame of mind. So watch that one with interest. Then next midweek they've got these Conference League qualifiers. But it feels like that is one that if Norwich can get it to around 2.5 mil, €3 million, I think there's a deal to be done. Every time you speak to anybody at the Norwich end, they feel that the player and his camp are very receptive to Norwich's overtures. I think Portsmouth, who were linked, they've now subsequently looks like pivoted away. I think John Swift's gone in, hasn't he? And then heavily touted with a Hungarian midfielder. So if they fell away, there was a report about Nuremberg, wasn't there? But nothing to report in terms of it's moved on massively, but only just to reaffirm that he is a player they like and they believe he wants to come. And I guess we'll know tomorrow if he's not in Silkeborg's lineup, if there's then quotes off the back of that, it might have turned on. More interestingly for me is, and just as a footnote on that, if it isn't to be, Matson and Silkeborg, they believe they can still push ahead with Topic, and that's what they would look to do, but nothing club to club with his club as of yet. There's nothing in terms of an agreement club to club, just ongoing dialogue. But Jallo, that feels like it's been a bit of a saga. We all know the backstory. Watford have been a long way down the road, but as of yet, still nothing happening there. And I think that every day that he's not unveiled as a Watford player is extra encouragement for Norwich. They really believe the player wants to come to Norwich. I've had that confirmed to me again just before kick-off today. Now, the player may want to come to Norwich, but Norwich obviously have to strike an agreement with Metz. But I think there's a growing confidence that if it's Norwich versus Watford, that Norwich will win that race. That's fine, but they also need to, reach an agreement with Metz. But they clearly know the figures involved because they know what Watford have gone in at. So the fact that Norwich are in this race still, that isn't going to prove an obstacle to them. And, if they can get that deal done, then to bring it full circle in a world that's no Science, no Sergeant, I don't see them going and splashing 15 million or any substantial outlay on a striker. They've done that. His name's Matias Klich, and what they will do is look to bring in maybe players who can play in wider areas, but also can be adaptable to play down the middle. I think Jallo falls into that bracket, so I could see that deal getting done, and then obviously look to do the Premier League loan as well in those areas of the pitch. Over and above that, there's nothing suggesting noises-wise that Sergeant goes and pivot to we're going to spend a lot of money on a number 9. I don't think that is a scenario that anybody driving the City's recruitment is looking at. It's very much Jallo and it's very much Matson / Topic, and that's where we're at.
There we go. Right, we're going to hit the road and head away because we've got a dash now down to Belgium for that game with Varagem tonight. That's 6 o'clock UK time, 7 p.m. What do you call this time? Euro time.
European time.
That's it. Yeah. So we're going to start down for that. It's going to be. I think we'll make it. We'll be all right. Barring any traffic or any untoward issues. But of course, we will bring you the team. Well, hopefully, yeah. We'll bring you the team news from that. We'll do a very brief another one of these, and then we'll speak to Liam Manning, speak to another player, all that reaction, whatnot for you later tonight. But from Volendam, hopefully you've been able to see stroke hear us. It's not the best surroundings to do.
We will do a team news video.
We will do a team. Well, we should hopefully have better Wi-Fi and be in an actual ground with better facilities. So if this hasn't worked and has failed dramatically, then hopefully it all works okay. Thank you very much for watching and persevering if you have. And we'll see you again very shortly in a couple of hours.